So thank you for joining us today, Julie, and for taking time to help us with our project.
Okay. Well, my name is Julie Gomez Nuanes. I work for Valley Wide Health Systems. I am the president of the By the Soul Community Center in Capulin. What makes me feel connected to the Valley? Well, I have lived in the San Luis Valley for most of my life. Born and raised here. I moved to Denver for about 10 years. And then I had a little girl. And I said, no, I don't want to live in the city. So I moved back to the Valley. I moved back just because I didn't want to raise Erica in the city. And so the connection is that, you know, I was born and raised here, and most of my family lives here, and it's easy living. You know, I love it here. So I wanted to raise my daughter in the San Luis Valley. Well, like I said earlier, the connection with Capulin is that I've lived there most of my life, except for those 10 years that I was in the city. And as an adolescent, I was always involved in the different community events, and a lot of the times the adolescents in the community would put things together just because we were so bored, and we'd say, okay, we're going to have this Easter egg hunt, or, you know, and make it happen as kids. So when I came back, I wanted to continue that, and I was part of an organization that created a board for a community center, and we worked out of this little small grocery store that was abandoned, and so, if that's what you want to call it, and so we met in that place, and that was our community center. And then later we bought the school back from the school district, and that now is the community center. And so I wanted to have different things for our community and our youth that, you know, happens in the urban area. And so I thought this is a good way of doing it. You know, just get involved with the community center and that board and start giving them some ideas. And so that's how we created the community center, and I've been with them since. Well, in the 30s, 1930s, something around that time, the nuns and a lot of the community members built the school. So it was Capulin's school. And so I believe the last class that graduated in Capulin was 66, 67. We were little. I went to the third grade, first, second, and third grade there. Then we were shipped off to La Jera, and I was little. When I came back from Denver and the school was vacant, and we were just looking at it like, what are we going to do with this great big building? Because it's 10 classrooms on the top, 10 classrooms on the bottom, a full gymnasium, a kitchenette, you know, building with kitchen and the whole 9 yards. And then you've got, you know, a football field in the back. You know, we're going to waste. So what we had to do was we had to go back and buy it from the school district. That's when the emotions started coming out, because I was older and I could talk to people and say, how did it feel to get, you know, to have somebody come and take this school from you, the district? And there were really, you know, they felt bad. Folks felt bad that the district was taking this school back or from them without any payment. You know, there was no payment to the community saying, okay, we're going to give you, you know, $150,000 for this building and this land. But it wasn't like that. The school district took it. So when we were all looking into buying the school back, the emotions were there, and they started to resurface, and people were like, we shouldn't have to buy it back, it was ours, you know. But in all reality it wasn't, you know, because it was the school district's. Thank God that they didn't charge us a whole lot of money to get it back. We fundraised, and we paid them back in 5 years. The one that I truly admire, and I think that we worked really hard to sustain, is the after-school program, the Mi Amgio after-school program. And in 2000, we got a $200,000 grant from the Colorado Trust, and it was a 6-year grant. And so with that money, we created staff and, you know, programs and things like that for the kids. And at that time, we were serving 5th grade to 9th grade, and that was it. Right now, at the present time, we still have it. It's still happening. And now we're serving kindergarten to 9th grade, to 12th grade, because the kids are, they're getting older and they leave, and then, you know, moms and dads aren't making a whole lot of kids anymore like there used to be. And so it's dwindling, you know, so we said, well, we need to serve all children because we don't have that many, you know, 5th to 9th graders anymore. So we just went ahead and opened it up for the kindergarten students to join us as well, and it's been successful. We're running out of funding, and so this year we didn't get to have the after-school program because of the funding that isn't coming like it used to. You know, a lot of foundations aren't able to give out money like they used to, so that hurts us because we don't have a whole lot of revenue in a small town. We have the after-school program, we have community events, we have an Easter egg hunt that has been going on since we were adolescents that I spoke of earlier, and that is huge success. And we have Sunday afternoons, we have barbecues, and just events that will bring families together and community together. We have a successful poker run where motorcyclists come in from all over, and just fun. That's a great fundraiser for me because I ride a motorcycle, and so that's an easy way to make money. And there's lots of people out there that are bikers that want to help youth, and you know, we've had up to 100 bikes come into that small town, and so that happens in August, and it's been successful. This will be our 10-year anniversary for that. We have 500 people, approximately 500 people that live in Capulin, and I'm going to say that 50 to maybe 70% of them are low poverty. And what happens is that we don't see ourselves like that. Statistics will tell you that, but as a community we don't see ourselves that way. And what I try to teach the kids in the community is that we're not that. We are rich in culture, we are rich in family, we are rich in, you know, loving and caring for each other. And you know, we teach them we have leadership classes there, we have job readiness classes there. So we give them the opportunity to succeed in life just like anybody else that has a whole lot of money in their community. For the community, what I see is togetherness. There's a lot of folks there that care for each other. My husband was killed in a car accident, and my cousins, well, his cousins came in from Denver, and they hung out with me throughout the whole time, you know, that you get, that you prepare for the funeral and stuff. And the door was a revolving door. It was, people were coming in and out with food and drinks and, you know, just caring for me and my family. And that evening, his cousin said to me, I have never seen this kind of caring for people. He said, we care for each other, yes, but that door didn't close, like, ever. That door remained open because there were so many people coming in and out. He said, and I told him, that's just the way it is here. It's maybe culture, I don't know, tradition, I don't know. You just feel the love in the community, and you know, the bizcochitos that I was talking about earlier, and the tamales and all that stuff that happens around Christmas time. You know that if you go down the neighbor's house around that holiday, you're going to see that happening in somebody's house, you know. So those things are still there that were there from when I was a little kid. I guess the beliefs and the traditions that I have is that I've taught my kids and my grandkids and the kids in the community that you have to learn to serve. You need to serve others, and that you have to be a great leader, and that you have to be a good follower. And I teach that to my daughter and my grandbabies, because it's important to have that mentality in you to be a successful in anything that you do. If you want to be a great leader in your community, if you want to be a great leader in your family, if you want to be a great leader at work, those things have to be embedded in your heart. Because if you don't see yourself as a good servant and wanting to serve families and your community, then you don't belong there, because you have to have that in your heart. So I teach them that. And faith is a big deal in our home. You have to have faith. So I teach that to my kids and in the community, and I also teach them to my daughter and my grandbabies. I was the first Hispanic female president of that school board, and that's North Conejos School Board. And the principal, one of the principals came up to me and he tapped me on the shoulder one night at the board meeting, and he said, "Julie, did you know that you're the first female president this district has ever seen?" And I said, "No, I didn't know that. I hadn't paid any attention to that, right?" So then when he said that to me, I was driving home that night and I thought, wow, that is so cool, because that is cool, you know, that's pretty neat. What, the school's been there, what, maybe 30 years or something, or maybe more than that? I don't know how long the school's been there, and to be the first female, I just was like, that was pretty cool. After that, folks from the community started coming up to me and saying, "Hey, we heard you're the first female," and you know, again, it was people out on the street and that kind of stuff, and pretty soon the paper came to me and said, "Hey, we want to talk with you about this stuff, and you know, what are your thoughts?" And for me, it was an honor. It was an honor to have that, and it's an honor because I am the first female. To a lot of people, that's probably a big deal, you know, but to me it was, mainly because I could show the community that could happen. I could show female women, little girls, that could happen, you know, and that I could be like, what do you want to call it? Someone they could look up to and say, "You know what? I know someone who was the first female president of this school board, and that they could maybe someday be the first female to some kind of a board, or the first female, you know, for something or other." And so for me it was pretty cool. I thought that it was an honor. It was an honor to have that. So I think that the number one thing that I work off of is to be a servant, to be able to serve others, the elderly, school boards, youth, community, the environment, whatever folks ask me to do or ask of me, that I do that with a servant's heart, and that I do it and be good at it. Whatever I decide that I'm going to work on, I want to be a good leader and a good follower, because you learn from others and then you watch and learn, and I want to do that and be successful. So I believe that the things that I've learned as an individual, and the things that I've learned by watching others, and the things that I've learned by sitting on school boards. I sat on the Tucasa board, you know, those things that are true and dear to my heart, that I want to be good at, and that I will succeed in whatever I choose to volunteer in, so that it succeeds and it makes an impact. Oh my goodness. I think that after so many years of volunteering, for someone to take note of that and honor you at a national level has got to be the coolest thing ever for me. When they nominated me, it's national, and it was for Colorado, the state of Colorado, but it's National Philanthropy Days. To be the volunteer of Colorado, the outstanding volunteer of the year, that's a big deal for me, because someone noticed the things that I did as a volunteer. No one paid me to do that. And to get noticed for the things that I've done in the past years and decades, it meant a lot to me because it was something that my daughter could feel excited about in my family, my community, and it was something for me because as an individual, how important it is for me to be a volunteer, that's important for me, and for someone to acknowledge that, it just rocked. It was the coolest thing ever for me. I was so honored, and they make a big deal out of it, and you go to Denver and there's about 1,000 people there, and you've got to speak for 10 minutes, and thank God all the lights are down and stuff, and you can't see all the people that are out there. And they get to hear about you, and they put on this great big display, and they have this wonderful meal, and you have to dress up, and it's just really cool. To set aside one day for these volunteers and to name them the Volunteer of the Year, it's outstanding, it's incredible, it makes you feel so good, and you get such a rush that when you get back to your community, you're like, what else can we do? What else can we do? Because you're just, excited, and you're excited for something that you are feeling great about, and somebody acknowledged it. When I was an adolescent and I was going to school, there was a lot of it, rivalries, especially in sports, and it's probably still like that right now, but I saw it because I was a student and we had to travel to different schools. So I did see that. I did see the rivalries, and sometimes to the extent where there would be fights and things like that. Do I think that folks have outgrown that? I think that they have. I don't see it so much. I know it happens, but I don't think it happens to the level that it did when we were in school. And again, it was in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot just in the United States anyway, there was a lot of tension with, the Chicano power and all this good stuff that happened in my time when I was growing up. And, a lot of the African American stuff that was happening when I was growing up. So, when I was a student, I saw it more because I was a student and I had to travel to all these schools. But I don't think it's to that level in this day and age. And I feel good about that, because what I teach the kids at the community center is that, the Capulin community is a culture of its own. Romeo is a culture of its own. Antonito is a culture of its own. Every little town in Conejos County is a culture of its own. And can we come together and hang out and be civilized? I think we can. I have a job readiness program that we're going on 4th year this year that I set aside in the springtime, and we have different kids come to that job readiness training, and they are wonderful with each other. They interact with each other. They're white, black, Spanish. I mean, everybody sits around the table and has to mingle and learn from each other and ask questions, and it's great to see that. So for me, in the different schools that I've been in and worked with different kids, I don't see it as much like when I was going to school. I know it's there. I know it's still there, but I don't think it's at the level that it was when I was in school. And in the different clubs that I joined, it wasn't there. But was it in the school as a whole? I think so. There was times when people got along, sometimes they didn't. And so, for the most part, like I say, in the clubs that I joined, in my class, in the classes below me, I think people started to get along and be able to work with each other. Do I see it now with the different people that I work with? Not so much. I teach the kids in the community not to be that. We're all different, but we're really a lot alike. And so I try and teach the kids that. And in my leadership classes that I teach the kids at the community center, we talk a lot about that. Because when you have a big family, like if you come from a big family, there's a lot of personalities in that family. And so maybe these two little girls hang out and they don't hang out with, the other two. and those two hang out. So there's different cultures right there, you know, if that's what you want to call it. So I teach the kids to get along with everybody, even with their parents. So that, and even like when they're in school, you know, like to get along when you're in school with your teacher and things like that, so that we don't have that. You know, that's what it's about. Just get along and work with each other, no matter what color you are. I think that the cultures that we have in the valley are the best because we make our own, for one. There's so many different cultures in this small valley that you can learn from, you know, and it's great. I mean, you have so many things you can pick and choose from, you know. You can go to Crestone and learn so many different things about what's happening in that tiny little community that you don't have in Antietam. You can go to Antietam and learn about the different things about the railroad, for one, you know. You could go to Capulin and learn a lot about the poisoned water, you know. It's not like that anymore, but that was a big deal for us because, you know, they poisoned our water, all our fish died. You can go to Sanford and learn about the Mormon population. You can go to La Jera and, you know, learn about, I mean, you can go to any community that you want and you're going to learn different things from that community. So I like that. I like that. And you don't even have to travel that far, 10 miles, 20 miles at the most. You know, San Luis Valley, it's the same thing. You go to Sargent, it's a different community. You go to Monte Vista, it's a different community. You're going to learn from all these communities you go to. I mean, I worked for WIC, in the WIC, for the WIC department at Valleywide, and I had to go to all these different communities, like South Fork, and I had to go to Creed, I had to go to Antietam, and I had to go to Fort Garland, and I had to go to San Luis. My gosh, I loved it because I learned about all the different folks that live in these small communities in Creed. You know, I don't go to Creed but maybe twice a year, you know, before I bought my motorcycle. And now, you know, I know about all these different communities and what they have to offer. It is so cool. So we're rich. We're rich in culture in the San Luis Valley. It's the coolest place to live. I believe that speaking in regards to the environment, the water, you know, we don't have as much water as we've had in years past, decades. And so I think that's made a big difference for the San Luis Valley because, you know, there's so much agriculture here. So I think the water is gold to the San Luis Valley, and so we need to keep it here and we need to use it, you know, scarcely, if that's what you want to call it, because we don't have a whole lot of it, and so you have to just, you know, take care of your water at home, in your home, and also out in the fields and stuff. So I think the water is the main thing that I can say that has made a huge impact in the valley. When we first got the community center going, one thing that we decided to do was put luminarias out on Christmas Eve. And so we started from the cemetery and we put them out all the way down to Highway 15, all the way to the Catholic Church because they have midnight mass. So we started that culture, that tradition. We started that tradition and it's still going. And it is so cool, and I'm using the word cool a lot because it means a lot. It's so cool because it's tons of luminarias on both sides of the road that light up the street all the way to the church that I don't know of any other community in the San Luis Valley that does that for, 3 miles? And so that's a cool tradition that we started, you know, as in our age group. You spoke of the Capulin. It's still there. the tradition is still there. Folks will go out and pick capulin, and there's a lot of it there in our town, because that's what our town was named after. And folks still do that, and they still make the jam, and they still, I mean, you can knock on somebody's door around September, and they're gonna have it, you know, to give to whomever wants it. So that's still happening, you know, that tradition's still there. The other tradition that I can think of is, if somebody in the community is going to have a baby or is getting married, there's people all around the community that'll go to your door and give you a gift of some sort. You know, you might not know who they are, but it happens. You know, hey, I heard you're gonna have a baby, and they'll go and congratulate you, and there's a gift. What I talked about earlier about when someone dies or whatever, the community comes together. There's a lot of unity in the community, and so that's still there. And I think that started way back, you know, in the 30s and 40s and 50s and all that, and that's not gone away. So the unity is still there. My favorite place in the San Luis Valley is the waterfall at the Almosa Terrace. It's secluded. You have to hike. You can't go down to the waterfall in a car. You have to get out of your car, which means it's not the road or the little pathway isn't all messed up because of the cars, you know. So that's my favorite place. I go there a lot to think, to just relax. For a long time, I believe it was man-made, nature. And so now they put a culvert in there because it was deteriorating the rocks and stuff like that. So the waterfall isn't as glorious as it was before. Now it's just, you know, goes through the culvert. But that has to be my favorite, and it's just in my backyard, so I don't have to go far. You know, and in every small community, there's a lot of negative. So stop focusing on that, and let's focus on the positive, and let me teach you how. Let me teach you what I've learned. And so that's what we do. You know, we just teach each other, and we learn from the folks before us, and the passion is there because we are small. And I don't want people to look at us as a negative community, or there's bad things happening in my community. There's bad things happening in all the communities. So if we can make good things happen and escalate that, then let's do that. And stop talking about the negative, you know? Because there's always going to be negative. You're always going to have pregnant teens, and you're always going to have, you know, people that are drinking and all those things. And let's stop focusing on that, and let's concentrate on what? When we go out and clean the roads and the highways, and, you know, we have street dances that rock, and we have an Easter egg hunt that's been, you know, happening for decades, and, you know, we get like up to 100 kids that come, and, you know, people that used to come to the community center as adolescents, and now our parents bring their kids. You know, they come to Capulin to do that. And they live in Denver, and they live in Eagle, and they live in, you know, different parts of Colorado, and they come to Capulin on that holiday to do that, because they still remember that. So that's the passion, that I can see that happening in my community, and it's successful.